joining us for this amazing Q&A. First, I want to thank all of our supporters of the festival, including our presenting sponsor, Audi, and all of our AFI members, and you, our audience. Thanks for watching. So today I am here with the special folks from Shadow in the Cloud, the director, Roseanne Lang, and our lead actor, Grace Moretz. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right to it, but this is such a fun film. Something that when I was watching, I was clinging to my seat and also laughing out loud by myself because we're at home. But it's such a thrill and really, really exciting. I kind of, the easy question is, how did you get involved in this particular project? And Roseanne, maybe tell us a little bit about developing the script.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a Kiwi Chinese director who aspires to be making Hollywood action films. And I recently got representation maybe 3 years ago. The script came across my desk in 2018 and I responded to it straight away. A person like me doesn't get that many opportunities. So of course, connecting to a script and being able to make the kind of films that that I thought I could turn into something that I could be really proud of, that was really different, that was unpredictable, that was unlike any other film I'd found like it before. I jumped on this opportunity, and then I was lucky enough to have Chloe meet with me and connect with us, and then we started going down that road together on the kind of film we wanted to make.
Yeah. Chloe, what interested you in it when you first heard about it?
The first thing off the bat was, of course, Roseanne. I was a fan, and I was excited to see what she was doing and kind of what she was taking on. I also, from the jump, knowing that it was a World War II movie set through the lens of a woman, I thought was interesting. And that it had sci-fi elements was another interesting moment. So I was like, okay, what is this piece? And immediately when I sat down and read it, I was incredibly excited. But it wasn't until really sitting down and talking to Roseanne that I was like, yeah, for sure. There's no question whether or not I want to do this film. She really checked so many boxes on where my head was at with going into my next female, role of where I wanted to be in my positioning of my emotions and how to get that across, on film. And the first thing that, she really said that I was like, oh yeah, we're on the same page was, she said she wanted a complicated heroine who wasn't always making the right decisions, that isn't the best person in the room, that isn't doing this, for the most selfless reason of the greater good of all. She, at the end of the day, makes some decisions in this movie that aren't awesome. You know what I mean? They're not always right. And I really enjoyed that because us women, we don't get the chance to be able to show that, we're not always the perfect, citizen. And I think that's a great thing to be able to show.
Yeah. I was going to ask kind of a little bit more about this character because there is a lot of complexity to it. And I think it's really quite beautiful. I'm curious if there were any particular inspirations for either of you, for Roseanne as writing that character, and then Grace for when you're in the moment and finding inspiration for a certain scene.
I mean, there are this canon of, and there's not many of them. There's these female heroines in action movies that we hold up, and we obsess about and have grown up with. And those women are Ellen Ripley from Alien, from the Alien franchise, Sarah Connor. We look up to these women, and there's not many of them, and we kind of hold them dear because there are so few. And I guess I wanted the chance to make a new one. Who could join that canon, and Maud Garrett is her own person. Like I don't think there is a heroine quite like her because she is so imperfect, because she is so scrappy, because she has a certain set of skills, but also a certain selfishness. Let's put it that way. But who amongst us isn't selfish, right? You know, that's just human. So we certainly, you know, these women, the women, the heroes that we sort of grew up with became the foundation on which we hope to build a new one. Yeah.
So you have anything to? Any particular?
Yeah, you know, a big one, you know, for us in terms of look was, you know, as she said, Alien, you know, Sigourney Weaver, and being able to kind of get across that badassery, of course, was something that we immediately, you know, just like the iconic shape and the look was a big one as well within that we were like, okay, cool. A big one we also mentioned was, you know, not a woman, but Indiana Jones was something that we kind of wanted to pull in pieces of that. You know, the unlikely humor and also the winging it sensibility, which we don't usually see. You know, it's not this person that's this trained, you know, spy. She's just figuring it out as she goes. And I think we enjoyed that. But then on top of that, I think for me, something I really wanted to not exactly study, but definitely I watched and kind of perceived and took in was Sandra Bullock in Gravity. That was one for how she carried the movie on her shoulders and did it in a way that also didn't feel like she was aware of it. You know what I mean? There's sometimes you see movies with actors and they're like, oh, they're aware, like they're the lead in this and you're the majority of the film. And I think she went about it in a way that it told the story and you actually forgot about her being Sandra Bullock. And I thought that was really interesting. And I think one thing I've had to work opposite in my career, because I've worked for this long since I was 5, is a lot of people kind of expect me to do a certain type of thing sometimes. And I really wanted to kind of flip it and turn into Maud and have it not be Chloe Grace Moretz, you know what I mean, having a set in her hair in a World War II flick. I wanted you to kind of really watch this character and follow along with her tale and question her and not trust her and know inherently that something wasn't right, and to follow that story and not follow just me. You know what I mean by that? Like falling into the background while also being the only face in the beginning. Like,
yeah, no, you transform into, like, yes, you're that, you have to be with her for the entire thing. It's great. I think the other, like, it segues into this thing that when I was reading some of Roseanne's comments on previous work that I think is beautifully phrased in this film as well, is the stylistic feminine savagery. and it is kind of like taking this idea of a female action hero, but this is also, the story is so strong in its female point of view, and the connection of motherhood and like that emotional, I'm gonna do whatever it takes for myself and my child, that I think it's not usually explored this way, and I really enjoyed that.
Me too.
So if you talk a little bit more about that and that kind of direction that you wanted.
Well, I mean, when I became a mother, I became aware of, you discover things about yourself that you didn't know before, great wells of strength, great wells of patience. These are all well and good, but there is also a great well of potential violence there. It's like when I first held my baby, I knew that I would give my life for this child. And it wasn't just that I would take a bullet for the child or go through torture or whatever. It's that I dared anyone to come and try and harm this child, because then you'll see what I'm worth, you'll see what I'm capable of. And it's like the hunter in the woods shouldn't be afraid of the big alpha male bear. They should be afraid of the mama bear protecting its babies. And that's what I love about this. We see so many men who are capable of violence, and because out of, I don't know, camaraderie or nationhood or protecting their family, but we don't often, there's less movies about that potential for feminine savagery and strength and violence when you're protecting your child or something you care so deeply about. And it's certainly, you know, it's something that connects with me on a personal level. Not that I want anyone to try and hurt my children, but if you try,
you'll see.
Yeah, I'll be there, you know. So
yeah, but I think it is like it is a layer to those who identify as women or as mothers or any part of that really I think is something that is an experience, and yet doesn't. This is the first that I've really seen it kind of used in a way that as a layer of a story that's telling, you know, something more. And I think it's brilliant. I also wanted to kind of ask about the creature and if the creature was always in the idea of, you know, in the process of writing the story, if it was always kind of that like goblin idea, or were there other ideas for what would be haunting this ride, for lack of a better?
No, it is a ride.
It is.
So I mean, the first thought of this gremlin comes from history. Is that this is a historical thing, like aliens are to Roswell, gremlins are to World War II pilots. This was a known phenomenon. When anything went wrong in a plane, they'd blame the gremlins. And you have a history that is sort of untold about that. Roald Dahl wrote stories about gremlins because he was an Air Force pilot in World War II. And Disney was going to make a movie about gremlins. You can read about the history of this. But from where we're sitting now, we forgot about that because of the 1980s Gremlin movie, and we think, you know, madcap, silly, you know, reptile creatures. So I really relished the possibility of creating again a new monster to add into the classic monster canon. You have again the alien, which on the face of it is just a nightmarish monster, but it also gets under your skin. There's a abject, some would say sexual element to Alien that was very clearly, that was a Ridley Scott choice. And so, you know, when we were designing the gremlin, we were thinking about where it came from, it could possibly be in terms of a, you know, animal from the animal kingdom. We were also thinking about its psychological feeling, what it would mean for a woman who is sitting in a tiny ball with her legs apart and up by her ears, and for there to be a monster there just up at her window. I mean, Chloe, what I just can't imagine what it was like having to act this.
Yeah. Crazy. I mean, for lack of a better term, wild. You know, it was definitely something that I was excited to jump into. It was like one of the other first questions I had for you outside of like how technically we were going to get the boys to be able to talk to me in the movie. My other question was like, and what is the gremlin in terms of who am I working with? How am I doing it? And all these things kind of took shape as we kind of went through the course of the film. And I think the gremlin himself changed metaphorically the more we filmed. We found more ways within him. And, you know, did she call on him or did he just arrive? Is she a part of this? Is it like an incantation? Like there's a lot of like witchery stuff that we wanted to play with too, and kind of play with the audience with that. And also the fact that like this is a girl who is pretty much in stirrups, in a position where your legs are completely spread open and I'm on my butt and you're just completely vulnerable. So, you know, it's not a world in which you can close your legs because you can put your foot through the glass. So you literally can't get out of this position, and you have this terrifying animal who is, you know, incredibly domineering between your legs, staring at your face and telling you, I'm going to kill you, everyone on board, and your child. You know what I mean? So there were a lot of different ideals we were able to play with within it. And it was a doozy. I mean, our incredible stunt coordinator was dressed in a gray suit and licking his chops and, you know, doing crazy stuff. So the outtakes are amazing. So I think there's a comedy within this movie of the outtakes of Tim.
Yeah, that's amazing. I was gonna ask. I mean, it looks like the film itself is like such a ride. It looks like it would have been incredibly fun to shoot and to create. And especially, and I think too, when you have action and horror, it's just such an intense emotional experience, but then the process is also can be like a lot of fun.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I'm curious if there's any like particular scenes for either of you that were really like your favorite, that were the most fun to shoot, or perhaps more challenging. Just because it seems like such a crazy thing to.
I mean, fun is an interesting way to describe the shoot. I mean, I don't know. I actually think it was an ordeal, a sadistic.
It was fun at times. At times.
At times.
Very select times.
We made our fun, but most of the time it was just Chloe undergoing this physical ordeal. You know, if she's not cramped up in a tiny claustrophobic space, she's hanging upside down on her own weight. Like, of course we had stunt. That's all her, by the way. That's her. Like, Chloe can do more pull-ups than our stunt coordinator at that point. And that was her hanging upside down. And then it's Chloe in the freezing cold winter water on the beach, throwing those punches to the air, or to our stunt coordinator in a grey gimp suit. With like foam claws. Yeah. You know, and just, yeah, it's I mean, fun, but freaking intense as well. Like, Chloe, you went through a lot.
Incredibly physical.
Incredibly physical. It definitely was a task in of itself to get through this movie, in terms of just keeping myself healthy and keeping myself on my feet. And honestly, everyone was super supportive and super understanding, and I couldn't have had, you know, a better group around me who, you know, if I said, hey guys, you know, I'm, you know, I think from working for so many years, I know how to get through things, you know what I mean? Even if it's pretty rough, I know that, like, I want to get through it, and the more time I can spend in front of the camera, the more time we all get to go home and sleep more at night, and then wake up and do it again, you know what I mean? And kind of finding that pace within there. And so, you know, but they were great. You know, if I said, hey, I need just a second to like walk off and like get my legs and also like rinse my emotions a little bit. You know, it's a lot to kind of be expounding so much in such a small confined area, and I'm already claustrophobic. So there were just like a lot of things happening inside the film. And then you put me upside down, you know, on the belly of a plane, and you tell me to climb horizontally that way. I mean, it was the craziest thing I've ever done. And yes, we had a wire, but the wire couldn't take my weight because then it wouldn't look real. So the wire was there to catch me basically, but I was having to pull and physically hold myself and my chest up against the wall of bottom of the plane. It's crazy. I literally couldn't like close my hands after doing it for that like 3 or 4 days we shot it.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, well, kudos. It's what I was thinking about earlier, and I don't really know if it's the right word, but I think badassery, you said it already, Chloe Grace, it's a really powerful piece of female badassery, and I think you should be both very proud of your work here. I love it. I'm never gonna forget this movie, and I think, you know, it for me personally, it meant a lot to see such a strong woman on screen and also behind the camera, behind the pin, behind the, you know, all of that. So so congratulations on it. So we're gonna have to wrap it up, but I want to thank you again for being here and joining us. Thank you all at home for watching. I hope to hear from you on our social media channels, #AFIFest. Let us know what you like about the film. And congrats again, ladies. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.